Hey, welcome to Late Night with Larry. We're here doing it once again, and I'm here with my co-host Vince. Vince, give him a shout out.
And here we are once again at the Late Night with Larry D Studios, right, which is also gonna, I don't know, we can rebrand the studio also? Or?
Yeah, if we're rebranding the podcast, the studio itself has got to be rebranded. So this will still be Cryptid Central.
There you go.
There you go.
You heard it right from the source there.
There you go. And like I've thrown out the new email. If y'all want to start emailing us there, it's cryptidcrossroads505@gmail.com. And that's how you can get in touch with us. Or you can still reach out to us at latenightwithlarry55@gmail.com. Why don't you drop us a line? Let us know what you saw in the sky.
Right. You could be the first to email us on our new email. How about that?
That's right. And we'd love to bring you on and let you tell our story.
Right. Now, we're in the process of branding, like we said, but there's some stuff going on that it's out of our control. We're waiting on. So
right,
we're ready to roll with it. We're just waiting on other stuff.
And I'm going to work on that maybe this week to get it totally switched over. So while we're waiting on the official logo, I may have something to put in place till then. But
right, and what we're thinking of doing is shaving our heads and, skull shaping so we can have elongated skulls.
That's right. There was a Saturday Night Live years ago. They used to do it, and it was called the Coneheads.
And they made a movie after it, too.
and they were aliens.
Yeah. Funny how things come full circle.
That's right.
But before we get started, we want to thank you for listening, watching, tuning in, whatever you do.
That's right.
And we're going to do a little shot today. Now, thanks to our governor, we usually do the little hunch punch.
That's right.
Thanks to our governor, we can no longer buy those and take them out.
No.
Starting July 1st, but everyone's already depleting their supply.
Right.
So you will only buy the miniatures in a place where you could consume them on the premises.
Ain't that a mother? Now, I don't understand the reasoning behind that, because I could still go in there and buy a pint or a fifth, and I could buy little bottles like this to put them in and take them with me wherever I go.
Or instead of drinking one of these, you'll drink the whole pint. Is that what they want? They'd rather have that?
That's right. So sometimes the reasoning behind our government's decisions baffles me.
Right, but her hair looks good because she she still goes and does her thing. She tells us one thing and then does another. Anyway, right. This is to you guys.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Now that hits the spot.
Cinnamony taste.
It's like Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
That's right.
With alcohol.
Now, so these past few weeks we've been on a UFO UAP kick, but it seems like over this last month that the hot topic in the news has been UFO disclosure.
Right. Everywhere you turn, you hear everyone talking about it also.
That's right. And like we were talking just a little bit ago before we came on the air, it seems like more and more people are seeing UFOs, UAPs, and this phenomenon ain't going away. It's only getting bigger, and it's getting mainstream.
Right. And I was talking to my brother off mic, and I work out in a secluded area out in the middle of nowhere, and I've told stories about what I've seen coming home. We've had a gentleman, my friend that came on, he talked about the Wolfman. He didn't talk about the UFOs, huh?
No, he didn't.
Okay, but I mentioned them. They've had sightings out there. Last week I worked, and there was I worked with a different crew, and there was some lights in the sky. They were rotating. I didn't get a good view of them just because of my position, but another person from a different vantage point filmed them, and he showed me the video in the morning, and it was pretty intriguing. And now, 3 nights ago, there was a chain of lights in the sky. It was, I don't know. I didn't hear of any satellites being launched or anything, but it was there for a few minutes and it disappeared.
Right.
I mean, what is that? I mean, something's going on. I mean, either I'm more aware of it, right, or people are more aware of it, because there's been a whole lot more sightings.
I just think there's more sightings, and I think there's going to be more and more and more. Now, before any of you start saying, "Oh, that's the Starlink," because you could see those satellites at certain times traveling across the sky. These, according to what my brother said, these weren't traveling. They were just
stationary, and then they disappeared.
So I just want to bring that point out because I know a lot of people are going to say, "Oh, you saw the Starlink satellites."
Right. Now, I'm not saying it wasn't Starlink. I'm not saying it was alien. I'm just saying it was very strange to see that.
Well, if it was Starlink, you would have seen it moving across the sky.
Right.
It would have been at a steady speed.
Right.
Now, I showed several people, and I sent this video to my brother. Recently, there was a video posted, and I think it was on the Florida Panhandle is what they said. And you see this ball just come into the picture. And it's a bright ball, and out of this ball, you see little other orbs come out, and they start shooting off in different directions.
Right.
And then the main orb ball takes off. Sorry. I don't know what that was.
Right. It was strange. And there's a show we both watch on the Travel Channel called Paranormal Caught on Tape.
Right.
And they have some good footage. I'm not saying it's all true. I'm not saying it's all hoaxes, but they have some good footage that'll make you think.
Right.
Now, I was talking to my brother again off camera. Off mic. It was a different subject. It was about the U.S. and Russia not renewing their open skies agreement. Now, a friend of mine sent me a news article, and we heard about it last year when Trump wanted to get out of it. When he wanted to get out of it, he was criticized. But now Biden wants to get out of it also. So I don't know. Did their minds change? But anyway, does it have something to do with full disclosure with the government and UFOs? Do we have something where we don't need their permission to fly over? Or they talked about we have satellites and they give us all the information we need.
Right. Well, I don't know. Like I was telling you earlier that I was recently watching, I guess it's a new documentary, and they were interviewing Henry Reid. He's one of our senators. He was in the Democratic Party, and I guess he was one of the high holders of the party. And he was saying that, the government does have good solid pictures of these things. They don't know what they are, but he wants to fund it, and he did fund it. And that's where some of these space programs came from.
Right.
And he just thinks we need to put a little more funding into it and a little more research.
Right. We need to be on the forefront of researching this because, see, it's contagious.
I think it's the air in here.
Yeah, but if you listen to the news, China landed a rover on Mars, and
Right.
as far as space exploration, the space race was between us and Russia, but right now China's hot on our tail.
And India is not too far behind.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, are they share some information? Do they share it all? I don't think so.
No country shares it all. We may disclose little bits and pieces.
Right.
I think even through like what they would call espionage, I think we do let certain things leak. And to me, it may be a diversion. We want you to think we have this, but on the other hand, we really have this. It's kind of
Right.
like a prize fighter. I'm going to hit you with my left, but my right's going to kill you.
Right. Now, and when these videos are leaked from the government, like the Tic Tac video or the UAPs they have, one thing they do is they ask other countries, is this you? Is this you? It's not
Right.
us. Everyone denies it, of course.
And that's another thing that Mark Rubio and Henry Reid, in both their little interviews there, they definitely said, no, we look at other countries and they look at us, and this phenomenon just isn't happening to us in America. Russians asking the same questions, the Chinese answer the same questions. They all want to know, what is that in the sky? And they do ask, was that you? And we're like, no. We've asked Russia, and they said that's not him. We've asked China, and they say no. So every country
Denies it.
But here's what Henry Reid, he made a good point. He said, with all our technology and all our secrets, if it was truly man-made, somewhere, somehow, the government that owns this technology, there would have been a little leak somewhere. He said, it always happens. It's always inevitable. They can't hold it. There would have been some sort of leak. And he said, there's not a leak from us, from China, from Russia. So that's what really catches his attention.
But, they could do it without a leak because, for instance, like you hear the tunnels being built, especially here in New Mexico, there's supposed to be tunnels all around, but from government bases.
Right.
Now, I know somebody who worked on the tunnels, and they don't give them all the information. They said, you're going to build 50 feet from here to here, and that's all you need to know.
Right. I get that, but
I mean, with this stuff, I mean, they could stop it from leaking if our own Congress don't know about it, because they're the ones who want full disclosure.
They can, but I think he did bring up a good point, because as far as things go on this planet, cash is king, money talks. And if you offer enough people the right amount of money, I don't care how top secret it is, they're going to talk.
Right. But also, in the past, you've seen people who have talked and disappeared.
Right.
So that's another driving factor.
It is, but I do believe it would have came out. I mean, look, Area 54, Area 51, what's the new one called? Is it 52?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, there's a new, supposedly, and it's on Area 51, but it's like a new little subsection.
But just look at the Roswell crash. We still don't know. We really don't know anything about it other than what the people who eyewitnesses said.
Well, if we pay attention to Project Blue Book, Alan Hynek, he did let us know that it was a UFO.
Right.
And so did they. The Army did in the beginning too. It's like, oh, whoopsie, let's retract that statement.
But after that, nobody said what happened to the craft or the bodies or...
No.
So I mean... Now, we've had several instances. I've even heard of an instance in the small town we come from.
Right.
There was a crash in the mountains, and the government went and they retrieved everything immediately.
Right.
So that tells me they knew about the craft. Was that our experimental craft reverse engineered from what they got in Roswell?
Right. It could have been. Another interesting thing that these government officials talking about this subject did say that these things, the way they maneuver, our government, we wish we had that technology. The way they maneuver around some of the aircraft that they're flying around, the speeds and the acceleration that they get, they don't know how that is possible, especially with the technology we have. And like we've said in previous podcasts, government officials and pilots and people that do space flight and whatnot said traveling at that rate, there's no way a human body could sustain that.
Right. And that's, we talked about this before. I said, there's got to be some kind of self-contained pod inside
Bubble,
that
right.
protects from the G-forces.
Right. So if you're a government official and you're listening to this and you know something, leak it out to us, bro.
Let us know. We promise we won't tell.
We won't tell no one. We promise.
Maybe just a few friends.
Yeah, just a few.
Yeah, but it's interesting. I think our government knows more about alien technology than they're putting. I know they do.
Yeah. Well, this is what tells me they do, because Henry Reed, I say Henry, his name is Harry Reed. I'm thinking of Henry Winkler, the Fonz. Hey. No, Harry Reed. But just the comment he made that they have good video and they have pictures. And he didn't say blurry pictures. He said with the technology the military has, they have good, clear pictures, and they don't know what these craft are.
Right. Now, I don't know. I still think there's something fishy about the whole situation. Of course, I believe in the extraterrestrials, but I think our government knows more than, I think they're not going to disclose everything to Congress.
No, they're not, because, of course, Black Ops, and I believe we're trying to reverse engineer it. I do, but I don't think we're quite there. Now, Bob Bigelow from Bigelow Aerospace, they were talking about him. He's one of the only contractors that has spent his own money, and he's spent millions of dollars on this topic because he himself truly wants to know.
Right. Right. Now, at one time, wasn't he the owner of the
At the Skinwalker Ranch.
Skinwalker
Yep.
Ranch, yes.
Yep, he was.
Now it's not really getting off topic because there's a lot of UFO activity out there, but Skinwalker Ranch is owned by a different corporation, and now they're opening it up for research, and I thought that was pretty cool.
And my thing is, I think Bob Bigelow is the one that said, we now have, oh, no, it wasn't Bob Bigelow. It was someone from Skunk Works, Lockheed Martin, that made the comment that said, we now have the technology to take ET home.
Right.
What kind of shit is that?
And like you said, if we had the technology, there would be some kind of leak. There you have it.
So there's the leak.
Right. Now, I mean, I can't really get into too much of, what we did in the military, but we had technology that was even off limits to us.
Right.
And like, for instance, we had some aircraft that came out and, telling the public about it. And when we were in was the late 80s, early 90s. And they were showing that technology to the public finally. But that technology was 1950s technology.
That was old.
Right. When we get something new, then they'll show something old. And I was on an Air Force base. I can't say where it was, and a certain aircraft came in. It came straight to the hangar. We were next door. I saw it. We all saw it, but they still came in. They rounded us up. They made us sign statements that we didn't see nothing.
Right. Now here's my thing. Now you bring up a good point about technology. What if aliens, and I do believe they're out there, what if like everyone that has talked about seeing a gray or reptilian, they're supposedly like us. So what if those little zooming things in the sky are actually their drones that are doing surveillance?
Right.
And they're not in it, That's the other thing when they said humans can't do it. I'm like, well, we got drones. Why can't that be their drone?
Or like probes, so they could just go around checking things.
They're scouts. It could come and take some, just like we're doing on Mars with our slow moving rover. Only their drones can do it in a matter of seconds and at thousands of miles.
Right, so there don't actually have to be anything in there.
That's right.
Now, because when we hear about seeing the aliens and stuff, or them landing and coming out, it's a bigger craft.
Right, definitely. And that's what made me think that, well, maybe what we're seeing zooming around, and it's a drone that's like taking information. Maybe the way it bounced around the 747 it was following, maybe it's taking measurements, looking in, counting the number of people in it, how it's burning fuel, what it's doing. But why would they need that? They're looking and they're saying, this is a dinosaur compared to what they have.
Right. I think they're just measuring our progress.
Right. And that could be possible, but I just thought that too. I'm like, well, if humans can't travel, maybe they can't either. But if they can, that's another topic. But maybe those are their drones.
Right. And everyone says that these things just disappear. And it may not be that they have a pod to protect them from G-forces. It could be some kind of cloaking.
Right.
It could be some kind of wormhole.
Right.
Now, we all know that's possible. We haven't been able to tap into it, but our scientists know that's possible.
And we don't know, but that's I agree with Harry Reid. We need to really take this topic serious. And like he's a French scientist, and they were translating for him. He said these things we see, too many people just put it on a shelf and want to forget about it. Right. He said it's fine to put it on a shelf, but let's get some understanding of it. And then let's move into a deeper realm of study of it, because we don't know what it is, but we should at least try to figure out how they operate and what they want.
Right. Or if somebody sees a strange light in the sky, they'll dismiss it as something else.
Right. And that's what, let's go back even 20 years. You talk about the subject and people are going to laugh at you and think you're crazy. They're going to ask you, what are you smoking or what are you drinking? And times have changed. And like we said, everyone has a little computer in their pocket now.
Right. It's we got more proof. For some reason, the government still comforts people, because if the government comes out and says it's real, they're going to believe it rather than seeing the proof.
Right.
That's strange how that works, huh?
That is strange.
But not to get off topic, but we always got to throw a Bigfoot story in there.
Right.
But same with the Bigfoot community. it just, things change so much. I mean, a few years ago when I had my encounter, I told a few people, and they laughed at me. They thought I was nuts.
Right.
And now more and more are accepting it.
That's because
Just in the few years.
Look, you start listening, and you start listening. You get on the internet. Here's what that does. So someone that you told you had a sighting, they're going to laugh at you initially, and one night they'll be on the internet and they're going to be like, "Let me see what's going on," and they're going to start pulling up some really good video and then not so much good video, but then they're going to start reading all these personal accounts from people, and you can't say that everyone's seen the same thing or similar, and they all can't be lying.
Right. And like for me, it went from funny comments, or they would put funny notes in my locker, just messing around.
Right.
And I took it all, in good spirit, but it went from that, and now they're like, they'll get me alone. Hey, have you been up to the mountains? Have you anything new?
Right. And
I'm like, well, why don't you come with me?
Right. And that's how it works. People want to criticize things that they don't know about. It's like someone that works for a company and they don't know what the people under them truly do, and they're their supervisor. They're going to use bullying tactics and intimidation to try to let the people below them know, hey, I'm the boss, and the people know, well, you don't know what I do. It's one of those situations, and that's how people are. They're going to give you pushback if they're not fully aware or knowledgeable of your topic.
Right.
And I just say that the Bigfoot topic is real, and I still have people tell me that have you seen one? I'm like, no, but you know what? Because you said that, you're probably the one that's going to see it.
Right. Like our sister, it's funny. She's never had any kind of sighting or experience, but she believes because of what we told her, because she knows we're not lying to her. So she's scared to death about going into the forest. Right. And if she ever goes, she's the one who's going to have a sighting.
It's going to be her, right? Yeah. But back to the UFO topic, or UAP topic.
UAP, we got to, thanks to the new terminology, we got to let go of the UFO and keep the UAP, but we're old school, so we're going to slip and talk about
I'll always call them UFOs, but
it's the same thing. It's just different terminology.
Right. And it's interesting because I haven't read, but I've read, if you go to Amazon before you buy the book, you could read like a chapter or two. And it's called Look Inside. And there's a tribal officer that worked up, a state police officer. And he was the Cuba area, the Hickory area. That's where he was patrolling. And he has these stories of what he saw, and at night, the tribal officers backed his story up. Some of these craft just zooming around the mountains up in that area where they also have a lot of Bigfoot sightings. And some of the stories that he tells, you're like, this is coming from an officer, a retired officer. And there's two officers in the state. One of them, he just moved because of so much criticism about his UFO sightings.
Right.
He actually saw it landed. He saw the beings outside, and then it took off. And his mistake, he says, is he came forward and this is in the 60s, 70s. And it changed his life.
Right.
He was known as a kook.
Well, I was probably known as a kook for a while.
Right.
And, but my experience, it changed my life.
Yes. I mean,
a lot of people who see Bigfoot, they say they wish they never seen it, or they wish they never had their encounter. Right. And that's how I was at first. And you're the one who turned me around. You made me take you out there. Then it turned from just scaring me away from the forest to I want to know more.
I want to know more. And you should. If something scares you, there's a reason why. And it's most of the time when you get scared because either it's terrifying, ugly, or you don't understand. Or you don't understand it. That's why you're scared.
And those were all the above?
Yeah, gaining an understanding's part of conquering your fears.
Now, you're talking about that guy in Cuba. Yeah. Now, where we go, where I had my sighting, is 20 miles from Cuba, over the mountain. Cuba has their own part of the Jemez up there. And sometimes at night, we almost every time we go alone, we get activity. We'll hear something. It just I'm not saying it's always Bigfoot, but we hear crazy stuff we can't explain. And other than one time when we took someone and he went crazy, but but anyway, on quiet nights we'll sit there and we do see those crazy lights in the sky. We do, and I shared the video I was telling you guys earlier about the orbs that were separating and zooming off in other directions. I showed that to a coworker. The next day she said, I couldn't find that video. She said, but I looked for it. She said, because you made me think. She said, the talk we had, she said, I'm stunned. She said, I saw that with my own eyes. And she said, now she wants to know more. Right. Now that's crazy because you had a discussion with her and she said, you made me think. Right. Usually when I talk to girls, they say, you make me sick. Oh, wow. No, I'm just joking. I'm like, maybe I made her sick, but she's thinking now. And she's just like really intrigued now because. Right. And like we've said from the beginning for our podcast, just come with an open mind, not only to our podcast, but to all the stuff you see on the news, on TV, on YouTube, on the internet, whatever. Come with an open mind, look at it, and you'll after a while you'll be able to say, "Oh yeah, that's bullshit." Yeah, that one's there's something to it. Right. You'll be able to discern, as they say, for yourself. Me as bullshit, but yeah Mr. Technical. Discern. How provocative. Anyway, I'm going to say, if any of you people either have cable or you watch Discovery, or you have the new Discovery Plus app. I want you to check out it's a series called Aliens in Alaska. Yeah. Now, I don't know why Alaska has so much damn UFO activity, but it's like it's constant up there. And I wonder why. Now, not to get too deep into this, but Alaska's a big piece of land that very little people on it. Right. Now, there's a lot of UFO activity. There's a lot of missing people activity. Now, they're talking about the Bermuda Triangle, and one guy suggested that instead of going different directions or up in space, these people, they get sucked into the ground. Just because of the way things work up there. Right. There's a lot of Sasquatch activity. And up there, we've talked about this before. It's like, maybe it's like a fish. The bigger the tank you give him, the bigger they grow. That's right. Because they're big up there. and not only that, they've also talked about the Nephilim, the giants still being alive up there. Right, the giants in Alaska. Right, and that's why people go missing too. It's just crazy, and he's right. Alaska is so vast, and much of Alaska has not had a footprint on it. Right, by a human. And there's some wild things going on in Alaska, and I had no idea, but I watched the series Aliens in Alaska, and it made me wonder why Alaska is such a hot spot. Now, we are here in New Mexico too. We're like a real hot spot here, especially for UAPs. That's right. And I think that, as we've said prior, I think it's because of the nuclear testing and the labs and everything we caught their attention. We definitely caught their attention. It's like, oh shit, these kids are playing with matches. I better watch them. Right, and they're going to burn the shed down. Yep. Now, I'm coming up on a landmark birthday, and that's why I told my kids I want to go to Alaska. I may not come back, but I want to go get some answers. With my luck, I'll be eaten by a grizzly bear or something. But. Damn. Or probed by a squatch. Well, I'll have one hell of a story, but you will. I'll never tell it. So,
if that happens when we go live on the camera, you'll see him sitting in that chair curled up, just saying, "Mama."
I'll be rocking back and forth.
Yeah, it's hilarious. Anyway, check that out if you have the capability. There's some interesting series on Discovery Plus. I give Amazon a shout out because Amazon's not afraid to post the Sasquatch documentaries, the UFO documentaries, and they have a lot of them, and I watch them all.
Well, even Netflix, they're doing good because they put the Todd Standing one up.
Right, yeah, so kudos, let's get that information out there.
Now we've been talking about UAPs a lot lately because it's in the news, and every time we see each other, there's something to talk about.
Yes.
But coming up, I was telling my brother I got some time off from work, so we'll definitely be up in the mountains doing research. This big holiday, the Memorial Holiday, will be over, so hopefully
it won't be as crowded.
Right, and now school's going to end a little bit later, so this will be the perfect opportunity to be up there alone.
Right. And we'll bring you the stories if we get any from up there.
Right. But if this is our last podcast, you know what happened to us up there. Right. Go look for us.
Right. Right. Some of you know where we stay, so please find us.
Yep, exactly.
But yes, we're getting ready to head back up there and see if we get some interaction. This is the time of year. And hopefully we do, and if we do, we're going to let you know about it.
Right, and we got some equipment, I'll say research equipment, so hopefully if something occurs, we'll be able to document it. Now, like I said, almost every time we went out there was something happened, we heard a sound, something, but we never really documented a lot of it.
That's right, but we'll let you know regardless, and like we've said before, you out there listening, if you've had a sighting, a haunting, or you saw a UFO.
Right, or you saw your mother-in-law get out of the shower. Something scary.
You know how to reach us. Anyway, that's what we wanted to bring to you tonight. We hope you enjoyed it. And stick around. Join us next week. It'll be some of the same stuff.
Right, and actually, during the warmer months, it's better because we're out in the research area.
That's right. So, stick around.
Peace. Be good people.
Thanks for listening. Hey.
That's for you.